Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 11th. This is the meeting of the Audit and Financial Committee of the Newburgh Enlarged School District.
The first item you have, Mr. Stewart, is selecting an area of focus for the internal auditor.
Okay, perfect. So I have a couple recommendations that I'd like to discuss with my colleagues. This is just a discussion, correct? No, I have it written down here. I can do it from memory. So the first thing I was going to suggest that we do for the audit was the accounting department, SOP, policies, procedures, reports, etc. The second one, I was going to do judgment and claims. A couple other suggestions was the energy grant and the capital projects. So as you know, we just got the external audit report, and based on that, that's where I came up with the accounting policies and procedures, make sure they're falling in line, so our future reports look better than the last one. Any comments?
Those are the only areas you want to do?
Just for the internal auditor, just for the internal, that's all we're going to do right now. Mackenzie?
Yeah, so I see on the report that we got from the internal auditor that the financial accounting and reporting hasn't been, or it looks to be, it hasn't been reviewed yet. I don't know, Ms. Roaring, if you can confirm in the last like 3 to 5 years that it hasn't been reviewed?
In '24, the special area was Medicaid compliance. We have to do that every couple of years by board policy. Prior to that, it was purchasing, and those are the only 2 years I'm intimately familiar with, as that's my tenure here.
Gotcha.
Any other comments? Okay, should we make a proposal at the regular meeting on which ones we want?
Yeah, whatever areas of focus that you want the internal auditor picked, that would have to be a board resolution. Yes, sir.
Okay. So my two favorites are the accounting and judgment and claims. Now, is there a specific number of years I can go back, or is it just a last fiscal year for the internal auditor?
Customarily, it's done for the current fiscal year.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that. I'm okay with that.
For the current fiscal year or the past fiscal year?
The current. If you want to look at past.
I'm okay with the current fiscal year for the accounting. For judgment and claims, I'd like to go back a few years, maybe 3 years.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear that you're looking at doing 2 special areas for the internal audit this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And just to be clear, you want to go back 3 years?
Just on the judgment and claims. On the accounting policies, procedures, the current year is fine.
If the committee's in agreement, I could prepare a resolution for the next board meeting on the 25th of February.
That sounds good, John.
I'm in agreement, yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 2 is request for proposal updates for board budget consultant forensic accountant. Is that the paper you just gave us, Mr. McCoy?
Those are the questions that came in from the RFP that went out.
Okay. And of course, I lost it already.
There's been no responses yet. There's been documents downloaded off the internet. The responses are due on the 20th of February.
Okay, so you want the Audit and Finance Committee to answer these questions and get them back to you, or discuss them right now?
I would prefer if you just discussed them here on the floor.
Okay. First question, in the terms and condition, number 11 mentions the resulting contracts is for 6 months ending June 30th, 2025. Is that district request completion date for the forensic audit, or does the district expect to extend the date if the contract is not awarded until the end of February?
My assumption was you want this done as soon as possible.
Correct.
So that was why the first contract went out to the end of the fiscal year, and then you have renewals after that if needed. My response to the question was going to be as soon as possible. And does the district expect to extend the date? I would guess that would be a possibility,
Yep.
depending on, the areas you pick.
I mean, can we just extend it to the end of March to try to get a proposal? I think that's reasonable.
Well, we don't know if we don't have answers yet, because
Yeah.
it's not due till the 20th. This is just saying that is it 6 months, they're essentially asking, is it 6 months from the end of February, or is it until June 30th? 'Cause those are-
Right, the contract would start when the board approves it, and the first contract would go to June 30th, and then you can approve extensions after that.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Would the audit have to be completed by June 30th?
No. That's, we can extend it, the contract after June 30th.
Okay.
And I think they'd have to tell us if they need more time,
think
or
they
if
would.
they think, yeah, that's a feasible, timeline.
Okay.
I don't think we know until we know.
Does the district have a specific number of fiscal years for the forensic audit scope to be conducted? Is the forensic audit to be conducted just for the past fiscal year or for a certain period of time? The number of years will greatly affect the cost proposal.
I would prefer 5, but I don't know if that's too many, too little, just enough, like Goldilocks.
If time is of the essence, the more years you add, the longer it's going to take.
Correct. And I actually looked at the numbers for 22, 23, and everything balanced out, so I really don't see the necessity for that. I would like just the last
2 years then?
2 years. John, your thoughts?
If you did 22, 23, there's only one complete fiscal year between.
You turn on your mic, Mr. Duran.
22, 23 is 1 year, and you want to do the current year we're in? Or 23, 24 is 1 year.
Right. And
You'd only have half of this fiscal year.
only have half this fiscal year, so maybe just go back 2 years and just overdo my work. I'm pretty confident I did pretty good numbers, but it wouldn't hurt to have it double checked. That one should be pretty quick, I think.
Okay, so 22 to 24.
Correct.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Number 3, does the district have a budget amount for the forensic audit services? I don't know. I'd have to refer to,
They always ask this because they want to try to find out how much they can charge. So you just put non-applicable.
okay, I
Something
agree.
along those lines.
I agree. And I guess it depends on how many different items we put on the item.
Correct.
Audit too.
That's correct.
Number 4, are there efficiencies gleaned in the conduct forensic audit related to the investigations in multiple areas requested by the district? Is the district applicable to receiving one inclusive quote covering all of the requested areas? I would be good for that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay? Yes?
In the proposal, each different area that you ask for, capital projects, energy performance, general fund, those are asked for as an individual audit on those specific items,
Okay,
and then an overall inclusive.
okay,
So if you just ask for, if you're asking for individual audits, numbers, and kind of how much it's going to cost, then you guys could decide, all right, we'll do capital projects and general fund, and it'll cost $20,000. If you just ask for one inclusive quote for everything, you can't pick and choose, because you might not want to do all of them.
You're
Depending
totally
on
right.
what it
Yeah, let's
costs.
break them out. I agree. Let's break it out into individual. sections.
Can you have them
You can
do
also
it?
pick different, you can have one auditor do one thing, you know, you can pick different vendors too, right? I mean, if it's, especially if time's of the essence.
Can you ask them to give individual lines and then one overall number, like if they would budget it to be less expensive if we did all together versus individual numbers, each of their own?
Yeah, that's how it's put out, yeah.
Cool.
Did we reserve the right to bid it to more than one vendor?
Yes, yes.
That's in all, yeah.
Yeah.
More than
Board
one
of
vendor?
Education's decision is final. The board can reject any and all, or only take some.
Okay.
That's in every RFP.
What number am I on here? Number 5. Can the district provide additional information regarding the requested area scope of services, i.e. the number of transactions each year or the annual revenue expenditures in these areas? This will help us provide a more accurate cost estimate.
This question's on there because I gave you all questions, but this can be answered internally.
Okay, thank you.
You guys wouldn't have the answers to these.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff they can find on BoardDocs too. I think a lot of stuff's public information. Number 6, the RFP includes a number of references related to accounting estimates, generally accepted auditing standards, et cetera. Professional standards require that we conduct forensic engagements in accordance with the IACPA statement on standards for forensic services, number 1, versus generally accepted auditing standards. Is this acceptable to the district? I would say yes. John, yes?
I would agree.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
As
it
long
does.
as all the bidders know
Exactly.
that we've
Same
made that
standard,
adjustment.
correct.
All the bidders will get the answers to these questions, right?
Yeah, the questions and answers go out as an addendum to the original RFP. So when they submit their original RFP, they have to also submit the addendum that they now acknowledge that they got it.
Okay, number 7, are we required to provide a certificate of insurance as part of the proposal, or only if the contract is awarded?
That's required when they submit their proposal.
Okay. What software does the district use for financial accounting? I think that's WinGap, right?
That is correct.
Number 9, how many bank accounts and credit card accounts does the district utilize to conduct its regular business activity? That's an internal question.
Same with number 5, yes, sir.
Correct. Number 10, what time will we be under the scope for the forensic audit? Are there any differences in time period for any items within the scope listed on attachment C of the RFP? Or is the same period applicable for all?
So,
Say the same time period
yeah,
would
that
be
question's similar to number 2.
correct.
Attachment C of the RFP, that's where it lists individually, capital project, energy performance, general fund. So that's where that question comes from.
Okay. Number 11, are you anticipating any potential issues with supporting documents for transaction grants or other information being available for review? I think the external auditor just got everything in line, so I don't anticipate any problems with that. Okay. Number 12, are there any specific concerns the district has that led them to pursue the forensic audit? Well, the last external audit report would be one. Is there anything you want to add to that, Mackenzie, John, as far as the forensic accounting? I think this past year, too, we haven't gotten all the information required, so that would also do that. All the fiscal, I mean, we haven't got a treasury report since last June till January, which is required every time there's a transfer done. So that would, yes, sir.
I would suggest just keeping it a little bit more generic, like your first answer, just based on the last external audit.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do you want us to sign these and give them
There's
back?
one last question on the, just flip it over, question 13.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you. Number 13, will the project work be required to be on-site, or is remote or hybrid on-site remote acceptable? I think hybrid would be fine, on-site and off-site. You know, whatever is, you know, as long as everything's,
I have no issue with hybrid.
I don't either. Okay.
And you're about 25 people have asked for the forensic audit,
Okay,
either directly off our BidNet software or have emailed me directly.
okay,
So now that these questions are answered, we'll get the 2 answered internally, and the questions and answers will go out tomorrow
awesome.
to all people. So the board budget consultant, there hasn't been any questions submitted. Today was also the date to submit your questions. Let's see. You got about 15 people that have picked up the board budget consultant.
Now, does that affect our schedule for the budget?
Can you turn on your mic, ma'am?
Sorry, does that affect our schedule for the budget if we don't have one and we're appointing one?
I believe this is separate and apart from the budget process, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Matthew, on the internal audit report, we picked out 2 for the forensic audit. Were we supposed to pick out other items for them to look at also? I think I remember them talking about that. For the internal audit, was there other items that we're supposed to pick out for them also, besides the forensic audit? Please.
So the only thing that the committee and the board is asked to select is the special area. They will go through all the other areas that they identified to you in a previous meeting in terms of what they look at for the overall risk assessment, which goes well beyond finance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is 1.3, resolution to approve bills and reports. This is for the June 30th, 2024. I do have some questions. On the first page of the treasurer's report, it has the, for the end of the month, June 30th, 2024. Should that match up with the external audit report that we just received? I found only one item that matched up, which was the special aid fund.
We can take that back to the accounting consultants and have them respond, but they are the ones that prepared this information, and they would be best able to answer the questions.
Then I have a couple other questions on transfers. On the budget's transfer report, item 066293, it was approved by the board on 10/24. I don't know if you want to look at that, or I got a copy of it. Page 6 of the budget transfer report. So the second one down where it says legal fees, it has a code 1420-405-4. On the one that was approved by the board, it has a code of 1420-405-01. And then it was transferred to the same number, 14-405-01 on the board approved one. And on here, it was transferred to 1420-405-04.
So page 6 indicates money came out of the code that ends in 04 and went into the code that ends in 01.
Pass that to her, please. Take a look at that. Thank you. And also, I don't see that code 1404 listed on the line-by-line report.
It was listed. We wouldn't be able to move money from there if it wasn't in there. So that code did exist. The system wouldn't allow us to debit a code that didn't exist.
So some of the codes that exist are not on this.
They may not be if they had no transactions in them until the end of the year.
Okay. One other question on the band principal. code 9731600-04. In the final report that he printed out, I don't even see that listed. And I saw there was 2 transfers in and out, but it's not even listed on the report that he printed out.
That was one of the ones that the auditors changed and how it was accounted for as one of their adjusting entries.
Okay. Because I do remember that we paid that again recently in August, correct? $5 million for the bond principal?
So in August, we paid back the $15 million ban and reissued $10 million in addition to a new 25. So our ban for this year is $35 million because we paid down $5 million in principal, and that was called in August, yes.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions. Any questions?
No, sir.
John, Mackenzie, any other questions on this? Okay, so we can recommend to the board to approve the resolutions for the June Treasurer's Report. Yes? You're good?
Yes.
John, good? Yes. Okay, I think that's it for the Audit and Finance Committee, unless there's any other questions? No? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.